Yes, for sure.
Awesome. Great to see you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, no worries. So I was just kind of telling my fans and my followers really special interview tonight. Usually I interview and talk to people in the jiu-jitsu world, but I'm a big wrestling fan as well. And tonight I'm joined by top 5 ranked wrestler in the world from Summerside, Prince Edward Island, 26 years old, just represented Canada at the Olympic Games in Paris and took 4th, Hannah Taylor.
Hello. Thanks for the warm introduction.
Yeah. So awesome. So, yeah, are you back in PEI now?
I am. I'm lucky enough right now to have a break. I think I'm taking about maybe a month away from competing and training. I mean, I did train today anyways, but what else is there to do really? So, yeah, it's been a nice break away from the mats for now, and then just seeing where life takes me.
Yeah, awesome. So, I think we should start with the Olympics, like the biggest sporting event in the entire world. You got to go there, experience it. I think you had 3 matches. I think I saw all your matches. Just talk a little bit about your experience wrestling at the Olympics.
It was incredible, and I'm still kind of processing and trying to put into words how it felt to wrestle at that level. I've been to, I think, 5 international multi-sport games at this point in my career, and the Olympics was a standalone event that was so incredible and hard to even put into words. Obviously, you have all the top athletes from around the world. It's a very lengthy process to get there. So it's a 4-year quad, meaning that it's every 4 years you have a chance to try again. For wrestling, you have a 3-step qualification process. You have to qualify within your country, then you have to qualify within your region to then go to the Olympic Games. So overall, just mentally, physically, emotionally, draining for the most part for that process. So once it got there, it felt incredible to be able to put on the performance and try my best to take home a medal for Canada.
Yeah, and like people may not know, but this is like have been a lifelong dream for you. When I was doing my research, I do my research for these interviews, and I saw there was a really cool video of you on CBC, and it showed a video of you when you were younger, like you were probably like, I don't know, I want to say like 13, 14 or something. And then it was like kind of just flashing back to like you now training for the Olympics, and then when you were a kid talking about how you were hoping to go, I think in 2020. Just talk about that, how long you've been like chasing this dream.
Yeah, it sounds kind of crazy, but I come from an Olympic family in a sense that we watched every single Olympic Games that I can remember, summer, winter, Paralympics, since I was a child. And it didn't matter what the event was, I was watching it. And my dad, Norman Taylor, would make up games for my sister and I, Caitlin Taylor, to play against one another, whether it was long jump in the sand at the beaches or sledding or running races or any of these made up games, obstacle courses, whatever it was, a competition, we would be competing against one another. So when I found the sport of wrestling and the coach told me that she can go to the Olympic Games, my coach Dominique Valet told my mom after my very first practice, she's going to the Olympics. So I stuck with it. And so since I was a child, I've been dreaming of this moment. Unfortunately, in 2020, I narrowly missed out on competing in Tokyo as I got second at our Canadian trials, falling to a tough opponent, Linda Moraes, who was actually my Olympic teammate this time around. So overall, a long journey and super rewarding.
Yeah, and yeah, that's incredible. Very inspiring stuff. And again, if people may not know watching this, Prince Edward Island, it's a very small place. And I can relate because I'm from a small place. I have my own gym in my own hometown. And I know I heard you tell a story. I saw another interview that you did, talking about your parents driving you hours back and forth to practices and stuff. I think you told a funny story about your mom saying, like, oh, you cost me like so many dollars per minute or per match or
Yeah.
something. Like, just talk about like growing up and like starting out in the sport of wrestling. Like,
Yeah. So the practices that I was going to were in Charlottetown, Prince Edward Island. I'm from Summerside, Prince Edward Island, so that's about 45 minutes to an hour away. My mom would actually pick up all the kids from this side of the island and take them all the way to Charlottetown, watch our 2-hour practice, and then drive everyone home at the end of the night. So my mom, Bonnie Taylor, was super supportive over my career, and without her, myself, or my fiance, Liggett Sadiku, who is also a very accomplished wrestler himself, wouldn't have had the success we had today. Both my mother and father have been super supportive, and even though we do make jokes about me costing a lot of money, they wouldn't have had it any other way.
Yeah, of course, of course. So yeah, so your whole family was tremendously supportive. Did they all get to come and watch you in Paris compete?
They did. I had about 15 individuals follow me to the Olympic Games to watch my performance, and it was super special.
Wow. And again, if people don't know, the draw came out and you were against the number one ranked wrestler in your weight class from Japan, Sakurai, right? I don't know if I'm saying that right, but and you gave her the closest match that she had in the entire Olympics, right? I think you were within a couple points of her. So, I mean, that has to be motivating, like looking back at that and watching her whole road. And then people may not know, I didn't even really know until like more recently with wrestling, but you have a chance if you lose to fight for a bronze medal. Just explain that process with wrestling.
For sure. So it is a part that not a lot of people understand. It's called a single elimination format, and they use the repechage system. So what that means is every person who's in the Olympic weight class in the bracket is guaranteed one match. So with that, you either want to win, which is obviously the goal and objective of everybody's, but two, if you lose, you want to make sure you lose to the best possible person, as if that individual who you lose to makes it to the finals, you're going to be pulled back into the competition and then have a chance to fight for a bronze medal in the repechage matches. So I faced the number one wrestler in the world from Japan, unfortunately lost in my first match. Because she was successful in her next two matches, which brought her to the finals, I was pulled back into the competition to fight a girl from Ecuador to then put me into the bronze medal match.
Yeah, okay, so awesome. And that match that you had against Ecuador, like you were on fire in that match. That match was awesome. Talk about that match a little bit.
Yeah, that match I felt incredible. I felt great in my first match. And when I walked off the mat, I'm like, whoa, I feel like I have more. And I had a close match with her. I couldn't be upset with my performance in the sense that I did give it my all. But like when I walked off, I felt like maybe I could have did a couple things differently. So walking away, having an okay match, and then feeling like I have more in the tank to give, I just held my fingers crossed and just hoped I got pulled back in the next day, which is what I did which is what happened to me. Is then I had to fight Valverde the next day, and I just knew that again I got one more chance to make my Olympic dreams happen, and I had to go out there and give everything I had. And I think that my performance showed that, as I was successful in winning against that opponent 13-0.
Yeah, that was an amazing match. So you had a bunch of highlight reel moves on her. And actually, I don't know if you had a chance to watch it back on like the broadcast.
I did, yeah.
But they did tell a cool story about you too in the match. And I like when they give a little bit of backstory like on the athletes. It makes you care a little bit more. But they were talking about how you used to wear your uncle's wrestling medals. Talk a little bit about that, like when you were a kid.
Yeah, so like I said, when I joined every single sport when I was younger, just to get a sport that's going to take me to the Olympic Games, I was really drawn to wrestling at a very, very young age, as my uncle Troy Hicks, who was actually able to come watch me at the Olympics, had wrestling medals as he competed at the university and high school level. So that kind of inspired me to join the sport of wrestling, but the sport was never offered at my school until later on. So I had always had it in the back of my mind that I thought I would like to do wrestling. I was drawn to individual sports because I felt like my athletic capabilities would take me to a higher level, and I didn't have to depend on anyone else but myself. So I knew wrestling was always kind of in my cards. I also had another uncle, Corey Holden, who has been a super big part of my career as well. He was a wrestling coach, so I had that connection as well. So it's kind of actually in my family a little bit.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you got your whole family. And you said your fiance is also a really high level wrestler too, right?
Yes, he is.
And he helps you prepare, like is he your main training partner for a lot of your tournaments and your camps?
Yes, he is. So my fiance, Liggett Sadiku, he's also from Prince Edward Island. We met here when we were children, and we've been together since 2012, I think, maybe 2013. It's been a long time, but he's been a huge part of my career as a training partner, a coach, teammate, friend, all of the above. And he was actually successful in winning the 2020 Olympic trials for Canada, which gave him the opportunity to try to compete for Canada at the Olympics, which unfortunately he was unable to do due to COVID, messing up the qualification period for him. He has then been selected as my main training partner by Wrestling Canada, and he's been able to participate with me at several international events as a part of my support staff.
Yeah, that's incredible. That's so cool, like to have your partner there, like with you for every step of the way, but like training there with you too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And does he fight MMA too? I thought when I was looking at my research, he's had some MMA fights.
Yeah, he's had 2 amateur fights. After he retired from the sport of wrestling, he was kind of just figuring out his life and decided to have a couple of amateur fights. It's not really sure right now if he's going to go back to fighting. The past 4 years have been mostly about me and helping me get to where I needed to be in my athletic career to make it to this Olympic Games. So he's kind of put his athletic endeavors on hold, specifically for this event. So we'll see if he's going to be coming back to the MMA scene in the coming months and years.
Right, yeah. So do you guys train and like jiu-jitsu then?
Yes, absolutely. I'm not great at jiu-jitsu just yet. I mean, wrestling has a strong base and I can be confident in my takedowns, and I'm pretty good at holding individuals down. However, I know the sneaky individuals with their submissions is something that I can't really fight with, considering I'm not really an expert in any submissions at this point.
Yeah, no, of course. And like, I'm the opposite, I would say. Not that I'm like your level of wrestling. I'm a black belt in jiu-jitsu. So my thing is submissions. I can get you in all kinds of submissions, chokes, leg locks. It's great. But my takedowns are terrible. A lot of people can get to a black belt level, but not really be strong in takedowns. But I had a friend of mine, one of my students, he taught a wrestling class for us this summer. And honestly, not that I thought I would be good, but I thought I would, be maybe a little bit better. But when I was assessing my own performance after the first couple classes, I was like, man, I'm terrible. Terrible at wrestling, because it's so different than jiu-jitsu. Like just the pace, the grips, it's so much more like just aggressive and kind of like in your face. Jiu-jitsu I find is kind of like more flowy at times, and just kind of like you can lay back a little bit more, and obviously the rules are very different. So
yeah, absolutely. 2 very unique, awesome combat sports, and I like both of them a lot.
Yeah. And I thought that I read another fact too, that you had competed in the Canada Games in wrestling, and that you also competed in the Canada Games in judo.
I did, yes. I had a short judo career. I was pretty successful in translating my skills from wrestling over to judo. Prince Edward Island needed 1 more female to join the Canada Games team in order to compete in the team competition. So I was kind of recruited through that method. I trained for about a year with our Canada Games team, and it was kind of contingent on my performance, how I was going to do. Obviously, fast-tracking belts like that isn't really a part of judo, but an exception was made based on my high-level experience of wrestling, how successful I ended up being in judo over the maritime qualification process, and my effort, I think.
Yeah, so I mean that's crazy. So awesome. You compete at the Canada Games, wrestling, judo. You've competed all across the provinces, now at the Olympics. What advice could you give other competitors that are competing, either locally or internationally in wrestling, jiu-jitsu, grappling, combat sports? What advice could you offer as such a seasoned competitor?
I think trying to wrestle or compete, always think about a performance that's going to make you happy, because at the end of the day, you can't always control the results. Sometimes you are going to be outclassed by an opponent. But if you can go out there and consider everything else, like how hard you're going to go, what you're going to do before your competitions, what you're going to eat leading up to the event, what training you're going to do, what extra cardio sessions are you going to sneak in. Like, if I can do all the other things perfect and I step out on the mat and give it my all and I lose, I mean, I can't really be upset, because I know at the end of the day, I have people who love me. I did everything that I could possibly do to get me to that point, and then the results just happened. So I think that's kind of allowed me to wrestle free. And I wish that maybe when I was younger or starting my career that someone said, like, results really don't matter. Like, at the end of the day, you're going to be the individual who's thinking about them and maybe having sleepless nights because you underperformed at an event. Nobody else is thinking about it at all. So when we remove all those external factors, you can have a strong performance and feel good, even if you are not successful in the result.
Yeah, I think that's really wise words. And it reminded me of something that I've heard George St. Pierre say, GSP. He said, same thing, how you said, you know, no one really cares. He said before his big fight, sometimes when he'd get nervous, he'd drive around and see like an old woman carrying her grocery bag, and he'd just be like, see, she doesn't care if I win or lose this fight, you know? So it is true. It's all really in your head. I talk about that with my students a lot, you know, the pressure in the situation. Like, it's just all in your own head.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, it's a part of the sport, and it's something that everyone has to learn to navigate. So having little helpful tips like that can actually be very helpful.
Do you still remember your first wrestling competition?
I do, yeah. It was on a gym floor. We rolled out some mats. I don't think I even had wrestling boots to start out with. I was wearing little Under Armour shorts and a little Under Armour rash guard, and I think my family even has some videos of it.
Yeah, old school, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's awesome. So, you know, the wrestling, there's a lot of different techniques to learn, single legs, double legs. But if you had to pick one of your favorite takedowns, favorite techniques, what's your favorite, your go-to?
I would say inside leg trip, which is kind of categorized as a throw. The only reason why those are successful for me is because I've worked so hard on my leg takedowns that when someone pulls me up into like an upper body position where we're in a throwing position, I'm successful in my inside leg trip. If I was teaching younger students, I would say avoid all throws, kind of put that in the back burner, because the takedowns is what win matches. Like single and double legs and high crotch are like the three main takedowns that translate to success. But for me, I've kind of adapted to a sense that I hit a lot of inside leg trips.
Right. Okay, nice. And I remember you got a really strong double leg in the match against Ecuador, I think to end the match. That was the last thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. What is a takedown or any technique that you hate to get hit with? Something that you get hit with in training and you're just like, oh, I'm going to think about that on the way home. Like, that's going to eat me up.
I would say fireman's carry, which is kind of ironic considering that's what I got hit in at the Olympics in my bronze medal match. It's kind of defeating in a sense that like they're manipulating your arm and your leg at the same time. Usually a lot of our attacks are either attacking the upper body or attacking the lower body. A fireman's carry is kind of manipulating both. So it's a little bit defeating to get hit in that because you're kind of in a pin position immediately and then you're kind of stuck.
Yeah, I got hit with that like probably 100 times in the first few wrestling classes that I did. Because in jiu-jitsu, obviously the front headlock is a very common position. And most jiu-jitsu guys, they don't do the fireman, so it's pretty easy to go behind and then take their back. But when I was trying to do that to Lucan, our wrestling coach, my student, he just would fireman's everyone. So after a class or two of everyone getting fireman's, we kind of learned a little bit about that. So
yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So that's really cool to learn a little bit about your Olympic experience. I know you're proudly from PEI. You have a PEI tattoo. Is that right?
I do, yeah. I'm actually wearing a PEI sweater as well. I love
awesome.
Prince Edward Island.
Awesome, yeah. Now, I also love Prince Edward Island. We were just there. I was just there with my family. We were in Cavendish, and we usually go over every summer. But I thought a fun thing to do to end this interview would just be to give you a little PEI quiz.
Ooh, okay.
I got 5 questions of PEI trivia for Hannah Taylor.
Sure.
So the first one, then, now this is specific for Summerside. What is the motto of Summerside Prince Edward Island? This would be like what's on the sign as you drive in to the town. What's the motto of Summerside? I can give you. I can give you a hint. I can give you a hint if you want.
Yes.
The first part is small city, and then there's another part.
This is horrible.
Small city, big opportunity. That's the motto of Summerside.
That's a great motto, so happy about that.
Okay. Next question. This is true or false. Billboards are banned on the side of highways in Prince Edward Island. True or false?
True.
True, yes. I was pretty surprised to learn that.
Yeah. Because I know when I drive to Moncton, they have them there, and I'm like, whoa, those are pretty cool.
Yeah, that's what we said too. Yeah, you really noticed them in New Brunswick after you're in PEI. Okay, next question. What year did the Confederation Bridge open? If you don't know, the Confederation Bridge connects New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island. What year did that bridge open? If you can get within 3 years, we'll say.
I'm thinking it was 1997.
Yeah.
Or
that was it.
Okay.
1997. Yeah, nice. Okay, awesome. Okay, last question. This is actually kind of a two-parter. There's a national bird and a national animal for Prince Edward Island. Can you guess either the national bird or the provincial animal?
I'm going to guess, these are both guesses. Provincial animal, I think maybe a fox?
Yes, red fox. Red
okay.
Fox.
And then I think maybe the provincial bird might be either like maybe a blue heron or a crane type thing.
Blue jay.
Oh, blue jay. Okay.
Nice. Yeah.
Well, I got one. That's great.
Yeah. No, I'd say you pass. You pass with the
Okay.
Awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Cool. I just thought that would be kind of fun. So, yeah. No. Awesome. Hannah Taylor, it's cool to learn a little bit more about you. I've always honestly thought it'd be really cool to just talk to someone that kind of experienced the Olympic Games and was a part of all that. So like that was really cool for me. And yeah, it's just like, you know, motivating, I think, for everyone to hear. You're from a very small place, but you just kept training. You had your eyes on a specific goal, a specific dream. You didn't let anything slow you down or stop you. And, you know, look at where you are now. You have all this experience. Where can we expect to see you next, wrestling or competing, or where will we see you next? What's going to happen?
I mean, I'm keeping my cards pretty close at this point about what my career is going to hold. I will say that that's not going to be my last wrestling match at the Olympic Games because it did not end how I wanted it to go. Whether you see me in 4 years at the Olympics or not, it's kind of up in the air. It's early days. 4-year cycle is a long time, but I have some opportunities coming up in the sport of wrestling as a coach. So I'm transitioning a little bit into that role, but my time as an athlete in the sport of wrestling is not quite done.
Awesome. And that's good to hear. And if you have anything, like I always think, you know, if you have any like shirts, merch, like where can we get it? If I had a Hannah Taylor t-shirt, I would wear that. So where can people
Well, we did actually release Team Hannah Taylor t-shirts before the Olympics, but right now we only have our leftover stock, so they're kind of limited edition. So if anyone wanted to buy a Team Hannah Taylor t-shirt, it's not too late. You can send me a message on Instagram.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, if you want to get a t-shirt and support Hannah Taylor, send her a message on Instagram. So thanks very much, Hannah. I really appreciate the time. You didn't have to do this, and you did, and it was very kind of you. Shows you what kind of nice Prince Edward Island girl that you are.
Thank you so much. It was an honor to come on and talk to you. It was super interesting.
Awesome. So yeah, it's great to chat with you. I can't wait to see you in the future. Hopefully we get to share the mats and train together someday in the future. So
absolutely.
Thanks so much, and have a great night.
Cheers.
Bye.